Okay, we're live. 7 seconds in.
All right.
Okay, Joe, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody, this is Joe Macre from Joe Macre. And we are here at Joe Macre's house in the American Garage Studios. That light's pretty bright back there, by the way.
Which light? Oh, I'll go
Straight
turn it off.
over there.
Explain to the people why we're coming on early.
Okay, I don't have any idea why we're coming on early or what we're actually doing, but I like to talk and hear myself talk, so I think that I'll just keep talking, and then if there's anything that you want to ask, you can. Actually, no, we were going to do this at 8 o'clock. We got the whole crew. We got the 86 Bullets guys, all the guys that, most of the guys that played on the record are here. Some have gone home, and this was scheduled for 8 p.m. But these guys got to get back to Baltimore
Long drive.
because they got a 6 hour drive back home, and so we decided to start this at 7 o'clock. Now we've been up most of the night, as you can tell. These bags, we're tired and drinking coffee. So that tells you this is Scotty Richardson gave me this cup. Hey Scotty, and
Why don't you introduce Chris?
this is get into it.
Okay.
Got a director over here.
Yeah.
See, he won't just go with the flow.
The active director.
Okay. So at my left side here is Mr. Chris Elliott. To me, he's a legend. This is the guitar player from the band 86 Bullets, a original Baltimore band. And we were just listening to some of their latest cuts that haven't been released yet. And it's really good stuff. Chris played on my whole album, and he did all of the solo work that you'll hear, except for on one song we had Rick Witkowski, Jeff Adams, and Chris. So there's 3 songs on the second song on the record called "Bring On the Night," and Chris just kind of molded to anything that I needed. He played, and that's kind of the way that I look at playing bass too. And I think, for me, it's if I have to go dom 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 dom. There's not a whole lot of showing off you can do with that, but if it fits the song, that's what you need to do. And Chris would play some really like elementary stuff, like for the first solo or the intro of the song, just to get it going. And it was real smart because by the time it came to the end, he hadn't given all his tools out, and so the last solo is always like the killer one. But he and Jerry Oxendine, his drummer, are here. Jerry played on Safety in Numbers and some other songs, but Safety in Numbers is not an easy song for you just to sit down and start playing because the bass and drum arrangement is just really odd and you kind of have to memorize it. So Jerry decided not to ad lib at all, but to do it as a tribute to Joey D'Amico. And I don't know if Joey's heard it yet, but he really did a fine job. And for me, redoing Safety in Numbers was kind of something I wanted to do because as technology grows, stuff sounds better. In 1975, or well, actually, Safety was what, 77?
Yeah.
Sounded it sounded good for the time, and it was done at Les Studio in Warren Heights, Quebec, on a Triad A-range console. So it had that Rush sound, it was kind of a hard sound. And but these days, things just sound a whole lot better. Chris is now producing his group, 86 Bullets, and their stuff sounded really, really good. A lot of times what I find is, sometimes, and they're not a metal band, they're just, they're a hard rock, prog kind of metal,
It's good when you can't really put your finger
Yeah,
on it. We like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
You know.
And he's taken over the production reins. And the first track I heard, I was like, that's your sound. That's what you need because you don't sound like everybody else. And I think, part of what we've lost over the years is the formula is easy to kind of get because a lot of people know the formula for a certain sound, but coming up with your own sound is pretty much what you really need to do. So you got unique songs, you got unique vocals, you got all this, unique production, but you sound like everybody else. Just my opinion, but You know,
Well, this guy should know because
I'm old.
that one band that you were in was pretty original, I think.
Yeah, and you
It
know,
started everything off.
yeah, and everybody, you know, with regards to Crack the Sky. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a blog at joemacre.com. I put the first one up, and it's just to tell stories because I used to do that on Facebook, and people say, man, you know, a lot of people really responded to that stuff. They had never heard these stories before. And I guess I remember them because those were just special times for me. And, you know, when you remember something over the years, then you remember it, right? If you don't ever think about it, your memory's pretty much gone. Um, and, you know, the, the stories that I have, a lot of them are just funny. The first one I put up on the blog was about the name Archangel. Everybody thought Crack the Sky was called Archangel, and Crack the Sky was never called Archangel. And if you go to the blog, you'll see it, but I'll tell you real quick. So we were living in Manhattan when we went up to make the first record. They were trademarking the Crack the Sky logo because you can't copyright a name, and you can copyright a trademark. So, and it's that Crack the Sky logo that you've seen everywhere. And we're in the main guy's office, Phil, and he said, listen, you know, we're putting a trademark on Crack the Sky, and, you know, we're sure that no one else is going to have that. So it'll clear, but you have to give them two names. So we need another name. You'll never use it, but we have to submit another name. What should it be? Jimmy Griffith said, Archangel. And we said, okay, can we go now? And that was it. Okay, so the real name of the band before we went to New York was called Words. And Words was based on the fact that we liked the words that John Palumbo wrote to, like, you know, our music arrangements. It just worked out. It just fit, you know. And so we were called Words. And then the next blog will have to do with how Crack the Sky came about, because I've read every story online at one time. I've been on Facebook since 2009, and I've heard just about every story, and some are pretty good whoppers, you know. So the next one I'm going to address on the blog is Crack the Sky. How did the name Crack the Sky come about? Well, I was there and I remember, and Ricky and I talked about it the other day. And he said, I can't believe that. But he remembered it, you know. So I'll tell you about it, but you have to go to the blog and find it. And so what are we going to do now?
Sell some of your merchandise. Show them all this lovely stuff you got.
We have all kind of lovely stuff. We have a
where can they get that?
Cup of Joe. You can get this online, but you know what? I bought a bunch of these, and they cost so much to ship and stuff. Like, I mean, I have to charge like $25 for a cup.
Sold.
Well, I'm just saying, if anybody wants a cup, you know, just you know, you can contact me through the website, joemacre.com. My email address is on there, and you know, I'll be glad to send it to you. We also have
T-shirt.
T-shirts came in, and we have all sizes. And here they are. This is Cup of Joe. This was an award-winning logo done by Glenda Williams, our art director in Dallas at Video Post and Transfer, and she won a big Texas award with that. And
DVD.
and
CD.
then we also have the CD for sale, Bullet Train CD, list of your favorite artists on the back, your beautiful cover that I found and put my name on, and
one that someone said looked like Wings Over America.
Exactly. No, it was
Judas Priest.
Judas Priest. Yeah.
Got a little look to that.
Okay, so see
a little resemblance.
Well, Joe is Turbo.
Yeah.
Turbo Joe.
Turbo
Joe.
Tubby Joe. Okay. So yeah, we have T-shirts, and you can get those online. But when you do, please email me and tell me what size you want, because on the website, we could not find out where to put sizes. So I put a little note that says, please specify sizes. But there's no way to specify sizes unless you email me. Okay, so I'll make sure that they get the right information and you get the right size. But we have small, medium, large, extra large, extra large. And yeah, you can get all that stuff. And so to go back to the reason why we're here is we shot videos with the crew from Baltimore, from TV1 Baltimore,
TV free Baltimore.
TV Free Baltimore, and
Think Radio Free Europe. TV free
yeah,
Baltimore.
like Radio Free Europe. And Dan, who I won't tell you his last name is, he's in the witness protection program, but he came down and brought his crew with him, Tim, and we've been out shooting all day. Did a whole bunch of videos. Pete Hewlett came down from Pittsburgh. Ricky Witkowski was there with us all day. Dan Pinciero, Jerry and Chris from 86 Bullets. Who did I meet? Albert Macre, my cousin, and we were actually in his studio part of the time. Now we're back in the garage here, and got some really interesting stuff. And the reason we decided to do this, I had done an interview with Dan, and many of you have seen it on Facebook. And Dan asked a lot of good questions that are really good crack the sky questions, you know, and just having kind of been there and thought about those situations, because I'm kind of a sentimental softy, and you know, I kind of am still attached to all the guys and the mission we were on, and you know what we were able to do. And so my memory's pretty good at it. And where was I going with that? I'm tired.
The reason why we shot videos.
Oh yeah, the reason we shot videos is because we got like over 10,000, 14,000 hits on different songs on YouTube. And I figured, well, people are checking these songs out, you know, might as well do a good video. And Dan was available, and he's a big Crack the Sky fan too, so he knows kind of what I'm thinking and what we want the videos to be like. And he's got great equipment, and so we shot a whole bunch of stuff. Probably do some more tonight, maybe some more tomorrow, and hopefully, you know, you can go to my YouTube channel, Joe Macri, and check them out. I'll probably end up putting some 86 Bullet stuff up on my channel, so you'll be able to hear them too. And you know, you got to give it to bands that you could go out and make, well, not in 2020 you couldn't, but you know, typically a band could go out and make a pretty good living playing the scene, you know, the local clubs and stuff. But when you're an original band, there's always a compromise. Well, yeah, you could do some originals, but you're going to have to do like 3/4 worth of covers. Well, okay. And, you know, a lot of bands do that, and, you know, God bless them. That's a great thing. But when you just are going to do originals, it's real difficult. And I hooked up with these guys probably 5 years ago just because I liked them as people and because they were doing original music. And, you know, and they were very dedicated, and they had really good chemistry, good bunch of guys. And they've grown so much. And, you know, hopefully we'll be working together for a long time. But you know, original bands, they have a hard time, you know. Crack the Sky, we had a hard time. We used to practice just about every night in a block cellar underneath a daycare center. There were no kids there, but obviously we practiced at night, and burned our ears out. But that's when we met John Palumbo. And he came down, and you know, we were looking for a writer and a singer, and John came down, and first thing he ever played for us was Ice, and that was the first drum beat that Joey and I ever came up with. And it just worked. And the thing about chemistry is you can't remove you know, pieces of the chemistry and still have the chemistry work, you know, because you always have different people, and they're all different. And so, you know, Crack the Sky, the first 4 records, whatever, just a lot of chemistry and a lot of drive for us to get out of the area and, you know, make a musical statement being from this area. You know, we got much more support in Baltimore, which we're very grateful for, than we ever did around Pittsburgh or our hometown. You know, so we're kind of, you know, sold out to Baltimore. and I hope everybody gets back to playing soon. I know my friend Mike Razzle Markellos is keeping track of who's playing where, and it looks like things are opening up. And just my best to all the bands out there that are trying so hard. And it's funny, you put out a record, and a lot of sweat goes into a record, a lot of exposing yourself. You're writing songs. What do you mean by that? Would you, this, that, and the other thing? And so, and plus you're subject to criticism. And for me, it's like, yeah, well, now people are going to try to compare me to John Palumbo as a songwriter. John Palumbo was a gifted songwriter. He was born a songwriter. But just so happens I was born a bass player. So, it's like you just can't fill those shoes, unless it's you, because everybody's got their own gift. So, for me, releasing a record, it's like I enjoy making records and enjoying them myself and making music with my friends. And the whole public part of it, selling records and all that is not something I really am into, just like any other musician, but it's a necessity. So over the years, which is a lot of years, by the way, I've learned about the business and what needs to be done. So basically, since this record came out, I've just been working the record, and it's doing really, really well. We're getting airplay in France. We're on, steady airplay in France, Germany, Holland, uh, just a bunch of pockets. I get these reports, and so the record's doing great. As far as residuals, I don't know what's going to happen in Europe if they if they pirate or what, but we'll see.
Hey Joe, can you tell them about the first song, the video we shot today, and who they should expect to see in the video today?
Yeah,
Because you actually had the singer that's on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
CD.
Yeah, the first song that we shot today was Diesel Locomotive, parentheses, I'm a Bullet Train. And Pete Hewlett, who's Billy Joel's singer for the last 30, 40 years, whatever, came down and he sang lead. Chris played lead guitar on it. Rick Wikowski came down and played rhythm guitar. And Jerry on drums, me on bass, Albert on keys. And that was the first one we did. That is the single, Diesel Locomotive. Uh, And from there, then we just did some ISO shots of everybody. And then we went to Bring on the Night. Bring on the Night features Jeff Adams on lead guitar, co-wrote the song. It was an instrumental track that I just loved. And I contacted Jeff and says, you mind if I write a melody and lyrics to this? And we did. And then just like the Beatles had the three solos back to back with, who was it? Lennon, and then Harrison, and then McCartney in a row, I think on Abbey Road. I thought, well, this would be really cool. Jeff did the first solo, and Ricky did the second solo, and then Chris does the third solo. So we had Ricky do his solo, and we shot that, and I got ISOs of everybody. Jeff's doing his solo in Florida, which is where he lives. Congratulations, he just got married, Jeff. And Jeff's a great guy, great songwriter too. And his band has been playing in Florida like steady because Florida's opened up. So kudos, man. Props to you guys. And and then after that, we did Safety in Numbers. And the reason I wanted to do Safety is because Jerry, the drummer, Jerry Oxendine, he basically, Safety in Numbers is not a song you're going to sit down and just start playing. It's you have to learn the song and you have to play it from memory. And Jerry did that as a tribute to Joey D'Amico because these guys kind of grew up as fans of Crack the Sky back in those days.
Still are fans.
And they're still fans, yeah. And they ask all the right questions, but they're like questions you would never expect because Rick, they got a hold of Rick today. We're asking him all kind of questions and stuff, and I was in the clear because usually I get them. And the funny part is Ricky and I, and the rest of the guys in Crack Sky, like we were never kind of brought up like, well, you're really something special, man. You're a big star, this and that and other thing. But when when you play someone's records over and over and over and grow up with them, then they mean something to you, and I get that. But you're just not used to like people actually knowing every note that you played, and have all these relevant questions that you can actually answer, as opposed to like, what kind of chewing gum do you like, and this and that.
Too close to the music, you know. I mean, you created it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard when you're inside looking out.
Yeah.
So us looking in as observers, and it's like we all have our crack the sky stories. The first time we heard the band, or little anecdotes that we can go back on, and and it's kind of cool because back then I've known who Joe was for years and years, and then now he's a good friend of mine, but so it's funny because I turned the switch off and on. I was kidding with him and Rick today. I'm like, okay, I admit I turned fanboy on you for a minute here. Sign this, sign that. Okay, now let's just be friends and just act normal. So, but that's how we are. I mean, we grew up on the band, and yeah, they were one of them. The originality is what really struck. When Joe was talking. I've always thought they were a combination of Yes, the Beatles is a good example. And now it just occurred to me you can throw the Doors in there too, with John's brilliant writing, his poetic lyrics, and so forth. There's one other thing to mention too. These guys pulled a coup. That was, and it of course didn't take the credit and really say it like that. But when Safety in Numbers came out, you had lost John for a while, and then that's when Gary joined.
Yeah.
But these
Gary
guys
Lee
had to
Chapel.
basically take on and write that whole album without John.
Well, half of
I
it.
mean, oh, you're right. That's right. John did have credits
And
on
they
the
did a
record.
brilliant
But
job.
it came out as a
Brilliant.
great record, and that just speaks volumes.
Highest charting.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it sold the most.
Highest charting
And
ever.
Ricky and I have talked about that recently, about, so we were under pressure, and John's such a great writer. It was like, well, what are we going to do? And Ricky and I sat down and worked out Safety in Numbers and thought, is this any good? And and
yes,
we put a good arrangement to it, and I think that helped. But recently we talked about, like, you know what, we should write some more songs together. So we just, right before he left today to go back to Studio L, I said, hey man, we need to do that. And he was like, I know, I've been thinking about it, we need to do it. So hopefully Rick and I are going to keep writing. Chris and I have been writing. Albert and I have been writing. And I pretty much want to do whatever I like, because I've reached an age now where I can do what I want. If I want to do a whole Saturday Night Fever over again, I'm going to do it. I wouldn't touch Abbey Road or anything like that, but
You could leave Disco Duck off of that.
Disco Duck, yeah, that'd be a good one.
I was saying leave it off, but
Oh, okay.
Hey Joe, can you talk about the involvement of Gary Lee Chapel on this one, and also Jimmy Griffiths?
Yeah.
How involved were they? What songs were they on?
Gary Lee Chapel sang Safety in Numbers, the remake of Safety in Numbers. Gary lives in Tennessee, and he was kind enough to do that for us. And it was wonderful getting him back. Because I think most of the people that followed the band really, didn't know what happened to Gary. Where's he been? And people ask me a lot of questions about Gary, and I don't want to say where he lives and give his address away or anything like that. But it was really good having him. Jimmy Griffiths came by 2 summers ago. Of course, nobody came by last summer. And I was playing some songs for he and the guy that was the original organ player in Crack the Sky, Donnie Schloss. And Jimmy said, hey man, can I play your acoustic? It was hanging on the wall. I said, sure. And he picked it up and started playing and singing If I Only Had a Brain. And I said, you gotta do that on this record. He was like, oh, okay. Well, let me go home back to California where he lives, and I'll come back in a few weeks and I'll have it ready for you. I said, okay. I wasn't sure he was going to, because it's a long way from Cali to Ohio. And he came back, and I did what he wanted to do. So he basically produced that track. And, a lot of people kind of lost track of Jimmy, Bobby Hurd didn't lose track of Jimmy. They're good buddies. And, Jimmy's just part of that original band. And Gary filled some really big shoes. I mean, he showed up at Les Studio in Quebec and went straight in the studio into the booth and started singing. And he sang for a week, I think. and we sat out in the lobby with the cappuccino machine and just partied the whole time. We were young people then, and so it's really, really good. Gary's just a great guy. He was a good friend of ours growing up. He was always like the cool musician, man. When you go see Gary, he sang lead. He played a violin bass, but it wasn't a Hofner, and that was the one little thing I had a problem with right there. But his cool overtook that, because Gary was just a cool guy. And so when Ricky said, we were looking for a singer, and back then it was kind of like Lou Gramm, Journey, Kansas, Cheap Trick. I mean, just all these singers. And we were kind of looking, and one day Rick said, let me just mention a name to you. And he said, Gary Lee Chappell. Gary Chappell. I went, oh, I love Gary. You think he'd be interested in doing this? Well, we could find out. I said, well, he'd be a good guy to have. Called him up, and he did it right away. And that tour, those tours with the Safety in Numbers record were really big tours. Like we played with just about everybody there was. We did the Super Tramps Crime of the Century tour. We did Atlanta Rhythm Section, Champagne Jam, which was the song I am so into you. Do, 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 do. I can't think of nothing else. And they were actually fans of ours. I remember, the first gig with them, the bass player come up and said, Joe Macre, man, I've been dying to meet you. And I'm like, what? I'm from Steubenville, Ohio. You got the hit records. He was like, oh, no, I'm a big Crack the Sky fan. Well, that just, then we would just sit and trade guitar, bass licks, in the evening. We were not that big a party band like some groups. We did gigs with Zappa, ELO. And with all these bands, the best bands were the bands that were not threatened. They would give you 100% PA, 100% lights. Go for it. If you can blow us off the stage, go for it. We deserve it. And that's how we were when bands, we got to the point where bands were opening for us. It was like, give them everything, man. You don't restrict nothing. And in those days, back in the 70s, it was like, touch and go. Everybody was competing, especially around 75, Kansas and Rush, had 2112 had just come out. And so we, did shows with them. They knew who we were. Kansas knew who we were. Kerry Livgren came up in our dressing room and said, hey, man, I love the album. You guys sounded great tonight. I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, none of us were famous at that point. Those guys all became famous. But, we did a sound check, our first opening gig for Rush. And I remember, playing with my amp and doing a little sound check. And then we played a song as a sound check. And then I unplugged and I was walking around the corner, and every theater has a curtain and a brick wall in the back with a bench, right? So I come around the curtain, and these two guys are sitting there, and one goes, hey, man, love the album. You guys sound great. And I didn't know who they were at that point. It was Geddy Lee and Alex, and they had heard the record, and they liked it, geez, I mean, we did so many ELO, and there's, it hadn't been talked about much, but Jeff Lynne was interested in producing Safety in Numbers, and that didn't work out. And I think it was a business decision, but that was like having George Martin for us because, he produced the Beatles, right? I mean, come on. And, geez, we did Ted Nugent, there were so many bands that were in the same boat right then. Frampton. And
Heart, right?
Heart, yeah, we did Heart.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah. I got some stories about the Blue Oyster Cult show that are just great because they gave us 25 minutes. We were the opening band out of, I think, 4 or 5. And at that time, the laser beam had just come out, right? So everybody's waiting for the laser show. Well, there's a disco ball in the middle of the arena, and at a certain point, boom, the laser hits the ball, and you get lights all over the arena, and that was it, So, and it was a big deal then. And it was a big deal for me because I'm a Sylvester Stallone, I'm a Rocky fan, and they did Rocky at the Spectrum. So now I'm at the Spectrum, right? So we're thinking, how are we going to do this? Well, they're giving us 25 minutes, so let's load up. So we did Hold On, Surf City, Ice, and then after Ice, we did the William Tell Overture. If you heard that, we really worked hard on that, the orchestration to that. And then right after that, Ricky goes, and Rick was doing the introductions then, and he said, okay, right now we're going to do a song, and we believe that one of the co-writers is here tonight. And the drums, hi-hat started, and we went to I'm the Walrus. And 16,000 people stood up and screamed. And man, that's like an unbelievable feeling. It feels like you're going to get knocked over. And then as soon as they did that, Ricky looked over at me and went, they bought it. And we're like, oh man, we're bad. So anyway, the moral of that story was the press, and back in those days, there was no internet. So you read all the reviews the next morning. Well, the press didn't want to talk to anybody about us, and they wanted to know where John Lennon was. And our official statement was, I don't know, we heard he was here. He's somewhere, I guess. We heard he was here, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Ricky heard that. But anyway, there's so many stories, and I'm gonna cover all these on the blog because a bunch of people like Dan here told me you need to write a book.
You need to make a movie.
It is. But I did an outline for a book, and I didn't know if I should make it autobiographical or just some novel with fictional characters. And it's like, and I did an outline, and I'm thinking this is going to take some years to do this. So I figured after Dan told me that I would just do the blog, and then maybe I'll do a book after the blog. But there's a bunch of information on there. I got a bunch of other stories that go through my head as I'm talking about these bands, but if I went into all of them,
can you go back to that album? I know I've asked you this
this
already.
album.
Yeah, I've already asked you this before, but I'm a little thick and I still don't quite understand what you're trying to tell me. The song that John sings, tell him the name of the song and who's on it.
Okay, John sang At the Roadhouse.
And he wrote it too, right?
He wrote it. Yeah, this was back in when I was back in Crack the Sky, I think from 2004 to 2009. John and I used to talk on the phone. It was like our morning coffee. We would talk every day, but we would talk like this. What's up, man? Nothing, I just woke up. So we decided we were going to do a record called The Precious Brothers. And if you've ever heard The Precious Brothers, Johnny sang the whole thing like, yo, it was kind of that voice. So I talked to him, and it was like, man, I'd love to get you on the record and stuff. And, what do you think we do like a second album, Crack the Sky song that really didn't get any attention? We'll just remake it. He's like, yeah, cool. And then I listened to some of this stuff that we had done before, and I heard Roadhouse, and his vocal is just amazing. The way he delivers the vocal. He delivers what he's saying, give that girl a drink with the high heel, with the nosebleed shoes and the Kmart pearls.
It puts you in the Roadhouse.
Man, it's just the coolest thing. So yeah, we did that, and then we got we rearranged it, and then we got Bobby Hurd to play slide guitar on it. And Bobby's just a great slide player, and
that song had never been released.
It had been, but like in those days we didn't do like any type of watermarking, putting our information on the CDs or anything like that. So if you put it in a CD, nobody knew who it was unless you had the cover to it, right?
Explain to people what you're talking about, because you told me today that you and John actually came out with an album, just the two of you.
Yeah, it was called The Precious Brothers.
Which was you,
just me and John.
Where is it? We want it.
Well, it was on Love Song.
Yeah.
Can you burn me a copy?
See, pirates. I hang around with pirates.
And you wrote a half of another album with him?
Yeah, we got 5 songs done in the second half. And the way John is constantly writing. He's always busy, up to his neck and stuff. He does stuff for Yoko Ono and different stuff, and he's always got a deadline to meet, just like Ricky. And like, hey John, why don't we finish that second Precious Brothers record? Oh, Mac, geez, which is his MO, everything. Oh, Mac, geez, so I leave it because I know he's busy and stuff. But for crack fans, they like to hear this stuff. Um,
It's good.
and but there's some other goodies that I'm not even going to talk about. Some other tunes that I have mentioned to you, but yeah. So that was Roadhouse, John's contribution to the Bullet Train record. I played on not their last album, but I played on Crackology and Living in Reverse. I did, I think, 5 or 6 songs in each of those records, and that's always fun. When they ask me to do something, I really like doing it because I kind of grew up as a bass player, putting emotion into John's songs. That's what I really wanted to do more than anything because I love the songs, and it's like if you listen to Sea Epic, uh, when it goes to the oompa part, I'll save the captain if it's tempting, and then I'm playing doom, 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 doom. Well, if you listen to any McCartney songs, like if you put on Martha My Dear with some headphones, you'll hear McCartney singing the bass line at the same time. Doom, 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 doom. And the voice with the bass has that little bit of out of tuneness that a double will give you, and it's just the coolest sound. So on those songs, I sang the bass line with them. And that's if you listen real close, you hear that doom, 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 doom with the bass playing it. And if you get a nice muffled pick with that and the do, all of that kind of makes a pretty cool sound. And so then I'm self-serving here, but
We love it, man. We
but
want to
yeah,
hear it. We want to see it. Now,
yeah.
my question to you is, once this COVID stuff is over, what are the chances of Joe Macri performing live
Well, we've had some offers. I had an offer to do a 500-seat place in Boston, and
for this CD?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and my thought was 500 sit down during this whole COVID thing, and it's like, when is that going to lift? And then once it lifts, I could see crack, maybe in Boston, maybe getting 300 sit down people, me 100 if I'm lucky, so it's like I don't I have to look at it like what's real and what's not. Before the COVID thing happened, we had gigs that were starting to be booked with military bases, and we were going with the Gary Sinise Foundation, and we had all these military bases that were being booked and all that, and then when COVID hit, that just kind of all went away. So to answer your question, yeah, I'd like to. I haven't been out playing since King Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I sat in with Crack the Sky a couple times, I think. But yeah, so it's been a while. But yeah, we'd like to get out and do it. Um, everybody I think is agreeable on that. But we'll have to see. The other thing that I really haven't announced, and I probably shouldn't yet, but for the sake of just letting people know what's up, well, I received an offer from a record label, pretty big record label, to sign. And I know a lot of you have been, asking about vinyl and all that. And at this point, since I've been paying for everything and it's on my record label and everything, vinyl's very expensive, and so to get a couple hundred records, it costs a lot, and if you don't sell them, you're kind of stuck with them. And so these guys do vinyl. They'll take over everything that I have been doing for the last 3 or 4 months, which is sitting at a computer and just working the record and sending records and press kits and stuff like that. And that's really not who I am. Over the years, I've learned how to do it, because I'm an old guy. And but yeah, so I'll have more to talk about on that front. It looks like a really good deal, and there's some really good people on that label. Um, I won't tell you who, but it's some really famous people. And part of it was that I could work with those people, maybe produce and engineer, and they would work on my records and this and that and the other thing. So we'll see what happens with all that, but we're pretty happy about all that. A lot of people like the record, but I got to tell you one story. I got a review back from Germany, somewhere in Germany, and I got the translated part. And the guy, you know, he liked the record and everything, but he was a Crack fan, and he was, you know, he wanted prog is what he was looking for, and he was like, it starts out with, you know, very good song, very whatever prog, and then it goes into a prog song, and then it does this, and these are all good, and then when it gets to If I Only Had a Brain, I'm thinking, what in the world why would he put this song on there? And I'm thinking, and you're a Crack the Sky fan, you should know the answer to that, because on Safety and Numbers, we had Nuclear Apathy and A Night on the Town. Rock and roll, right? So, you know, yeah, Crack the Sky is a prog band. Well, what are you going to do with A Night on the Town? Eileen.
Sing it.
I don't have a tie. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not, those are not prog songs, because so we were a vocal group, because we had Manhattan Transfers, you know, who produced us, Marty Nelson, and Terry Minogue, who still is an incredible string arranger, musician, and he did all our strings for us. And so, you know, when the guy was like, "Why is that on the record?" I'm like, well, "You don't know anything about Crack the Sky, because if you're comparing me to Crack the Sky, the one thing about Crack the Sky is we were everything. You can't put that band into a label. You could say they're a prog band, sure they're a prog band, but you still have to do something with these commercial songs, you know." And you know, I thought if he was really a Crack the Sky fan, he would understand. It's Jimmy Griffiths. No one's seen him for years, so that's why. Okay, you're not a Crack the Sky fan, and you Crack the Sky fans know what I'm talking about. Same with Gary Lee Chappell. You know, Chris, you know, having a lot of history with Crack the Sky. You know, it's like, oh man, Gary, yeah, you know, nobody's seen Gary forever. Like, you know, this everybody wants to know, you know, and Gary's doing great. You know, he's been singing, and just he's just still a good friend and a great person.
Do you think he'll send us some video of himself?
Yeah, yeah, we're
Both
gonna
of
get,
them?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're gonna get video from Gary. Would have loved to have him come up to do it with us, but you know, he's got a studio and he's gonna sing it on his own and send it up. One thing don't want to forget about the next record is called "The Dream Is Free," as of right now, and that's the title track for that. And I was going to release that in May, and I'm not going to do that now. And the reason is, the record Bullet Train has a lot of pop stuff on it. You know, I'm not a Crack the Sky clone. You might hear some Crack the Sky type licks, but that's just who I am. You know, I never try to copy anything. You know, just trying to do what I do. And I wrote a song. You know, I realized that through this COVID thing, you know, but even before that, it was like when I was growing up, our family went on vacation, and my dad had 5 brothers. So I have a million cousins, right? And tons of girls. And so we would go to Geneva on the lake, up on Lake Erie every summer for a week. And we'd always come back with a summer song. And it was typically a Smokey Robinson, Temptations, Four Tops. You know, it was always soul music, but it was just some song, and it always reminds you of summer. And I was thinking, you know, people haven't been to the beach in a while. And plus, even before that, I don't remember a whole lot of summer songs, you know. So I wrote this song called That Summer. And I thought about, I should wait and put it on the next record, but I want the next record to be more prog, so I put it on this record. And if you go to SoundCloud and different places, I kind of hid it because I didn't want it to overshadow Diesel Locomotive, which is the first single. So I talked to Ricky and Chris about it, and basically we're gonna it's on this album, it's on the Bullet Train album, but we're gonna do a recut of it, and add some Beach Boys backgrounds and different stuff like that. And that will be out in about 6 weeks. And so if this COVID thing, you know, lifts, I'm hoping that families just get out to the beach and it becomes a summer song for them. So that'll be out, like I said, in about 6 weeks. The next record, just because I want to, is going to be more prog. I like it. I'm not just totally into that though. It's like, just like I said before, I've worked myself to a point where I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do. And as a musician, that's probably the best place you can be. Besides making $1 zillion, which is going to take you to the cleaners anyhow and probably destroy your life. Anyway, sad sack. So
you want to wrap it up? It's been about an hour.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap it up, is what our director's telling us. Chris, what do you need to add here, brother?
I don't know. It struck me that Rush 2112 would be a good example of a record was made with no pressure, really. Well, they were under a lot of pressure because they were going to get dropped by the label, but in a way they just took it like, screw it, we're just going to write what we want to write because it's our last, what do we have to lose, that kind of thing. And you got a classic record out of it. So it teaches you a lot. It's like you got to do what's in your heart. And, it's going to be different. Not every Led Zeppelin album's the same, right?
Right.
That's what makes it great. You compare the first album to In Through the Outdoor to Houses of the Holy. They're all different.
Yeah.
And the same with the songs. You could go, with If I Only Had a Brain to Safety in Numbers, but then you could go to a Hot Dog to All of My Love or whatever, on the same record, or or even back to some of the blues stuff. So we talked earlier about Black Sabbath's a good example. I personally like the middle era, like this when you get like Technical Ecstasy, I think is a great record where it's usually panned by the critics as one of their worst. I think it's great. Sabotage is great, but that's when they were experimenting. You had songs like Am I Going Insane and Supernaut, or something like really heavy song, and then a really like poppy weird song. But that's what gives it flavor, so I'm totally on with that. I kind of dig what you're saying, about that. I can see that, outsider looking in, especially with Crack the Sky. And I could see all those colors, on the albums that you guys did. That was a really cool thing.
So you were a real fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Your stuff.
But
be true to thyself.
Be true to thyself, yes. And I guess that's going to wrap it up.
Give me your contact information.
Contact information. You can get the CD, T-shirts at joemacre.com. And if you want a mug, we have these. And we also have the Bullet Train, this on the front, on the other mugs. And we also have coasters like this and like this. And if you want them, I hate to tell you, but I think $25, I might break even on it. So I got to box them, and I received some of them and the handles were broken off, so I really have to pack them right and stuff like that. But if you want them, just all you have to do is contact me, okay, by email. You can send me a message through the website. My contact info is up there. You can get a hold of me. If you do buy a T-shirt, send me an email and just say what size you want, and we'll contact you if we don't get it anyway, because we get your emails when somebody purchases something. And
let them know that those that are tuning in now at 8 o'clock, if they have any questions, just to leave them in the comments, and you'll get back to them in the next couple of days.
So we were supposed to start at 8 o'clock and we started at 7. So if you have any questions, leave it as comments on this post, and I will promise you that I will answer them unless they're of a nature that I cannot. All right. And we thank you for being with us today, following us as we're making the videos. A lot of cool stuff coming up in store. Stay tuned. Check out the blog. I'm going to give you a lot of information, and none of it's to be contested because I've talked to all the guys about it, and it's all gospel, okay? Because I take ginkgo, and so I have the memory. Just remember that, okay? When somebody tells you something contrary to what I'm telling you, don't believe them, because I take ginkgo, okay?
Okay, one more thing. Give a special shout out to Tim Phoebus.
Tim Phoebus, cameraman, did a great job today. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Dan, with no last name, is here. He's got all the good cameras from his TV station.
Hmm.
And my friend Chris and Jerry and Albert and Pete and Danny and everybody else that was there. Thank you, Joey, Albert's son, and thank you for all your help. And bye-bye.
I thought you were supposed to be Charles Wesley.